Alrighty, yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Mr. DDG94 back with another reaction video. Today we're finna react top 10 best Boondock episodes to ever fucking exist. Hey man, this is by the boy Black Media Man Cave. You already know, man. Go support his channel and all that, you know what I'm saying? Run the mics up over there, you know what I'm saying? Look, he already at 2,000, man. He should be at 5,000, man. All the work he be putting in, let's help the brother out, man. But anyways, though, this is the top 10 best Boondocks episodes. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
Too complex, much too complex, too complex, much too complex.
In 1996, a young college student named Aaron Magruder started a little webcomic called The Boondocks on an early internet website called The Hit List. It later appeared in his college newspaper and also in the Source magazine before Magruder began shopping it around to several newspaper syndicates. Because of its controversial nature, the comic was rejected by several news syndicates before finally being picked up by Universal Press Syndicate. The comic was incredibly popular and eventually led to the idea of it being turned into a TV show. Originally, with the help of Reginald Hudlin of House Party fame, the Boondocks TV show was pitched to Fox Network, but Fox ended up declining to pursue further episodes. You know your show is over the top when Fox declines to show it. Personally, I feel like that was a good thing, because what the show ended up being was a perfect fit for Cartoon Network's Adult Swim, which is where the show ended up landing. The Adult Swim TV show is the focus of my video today, and it debuted on November 6, 2005. The Boondocks followed the exploits of two young black kids named Huey and Riley. The animation was great and was very obviously anime inspired. It also has one of the best soundtracks for a TV show ever, and if you couldn't tell I was a fan of the music, then look no further than the fact that the outro for the black track is a song from several episodes of the TV show. Huey's character was that of a highly intelligent revolutionary who's distrustful of the government and most things in general, and tries to be the voice of reason. His name is an homage to one of the founders of the Black Panthers, Huey P. Newton, and his persona is partially based on revolutionary leaders similar to the Panthers. Riley is an exaggerated portrayal of all the worst stereotypes associated with black people. He's the complete opposite of Huey, and is primarily all about getting his paper and clout chasing. His language is brash, and he often fails to see the opposite side or the negative effects of his behavior. He's written in a way where he means well, but his lack of education often gets in the way. Both Huey and Riley are voiced by Regina King. I'm sorry, that's Academy Award-winning actress Regina King to you. It's implied that their parents passed away, and in the show they are sent to live in an upper-class neighborhood called Woodcrest with their granddad, who's voiced by John Witherspoon. Granddad is kind of going through a midlife crisis and tries to balance being a strict disciplinarian to the boys while also trying to live his life to the fullest. It's clear that Huey and Riley are a burden, although he'd never say it. The cast is rounded out by all types of diverse characters. There's their neighbor Tom Dubois, who's a lawyer that's a bit of a social justice warrior. He has a mixed race family and a daughter named Jasmine, who's sheltered and naive. Probably the most controversial character in the entire series is Uncle Ruckus, a self-hating black man who seemingly does every job in the entire town. He claims to be afflicted with a disease called revitiligo, that's vitiligo in reverse, which means he thinks he's actually a white man. His self-hatred is extreme, but is presented in a way that makes you hate everything he says, but also makes you feel sympathy for the character in a strange way. There's many more characters, and things I can break down about each one, but I'd be here all day. Today I just wanted to run down my top 10 favorite episodes of the Boondock TV show. These are just my personal favorites, and it's pretty hard to pick just 10 on a series this good. So if you feel like I left off an episode that's one of your favorites, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Without further delay, here's my top 10 favorite episodes of the Boondocks. Number 10, The Fried Chicken Flu. Even though this is a best list, it could easily double as a times the Boondocks accidentally predicted the future list.
Yeah, this episode did go up after the vid happened. This episode went up exponentially. Definitely a top 10 episode because they predicted the future. due to the it's crazy how they predicted a fucking a massive worldwide shutdown outbreak while people was out here stabbing and choking and killing each other over a goddamn chicken sandwich. That ain't really that good. I still stand by that. That Popeye's chicken sandwich is not that good. It's terrible. Now, if you want a really good chicken sandwich, I said Chick-fil-A got the best one. Chick-fil-A got the best one. I hate Chick-fil-A, but I can't deny the fact that they got the best chicken sandwich, if we being honest. They got the best chicken sandwich, hands down. And I reluctantly say that. I've tried everybody chicken sandwich, KFC chicken sandwich, too much breading. Popeye's chicken sandwich is just overrated. McDonald's chicken sandwich, you can taste the frozen. On that damn chicken patty. Burger King, who the fuck would try that? Wendy's. No, you know what? Wendy's probably got a run in for that chicken sandwich spot. But I'm gonna just give the slight nod to fucking Chick-fil-A. Reluctantly.
In this season 3 episode, people start going crazy over some new fried chicken, all because it has one new herb and one new spice. There's a line all the way down the block, and when the restaurant runs out of chicken, people start to fight and riot. Not unlike people did in 2020 when a certain chicken sandwich was in short supply. Unfortunately for the few people who did get some of the chicken, it makes them sick with a mysterious illness that nobody can figure out. A pandemic ensues, and the president basically tells everybody to fend for themselves. If all of this sounds familiar, well, that's because it's almost beat for beat what the real world was like in 2020. Huey planned for something like this and tries to tell everybody how to stay safe, but his family, who represents the outside world in this situation, keeps screwing it up. Granddad keeps letting strangers into the house, Riley keeps telling the world that they have supplies, and Jasmine begins to lose her mind and starts missing her family and old life. I love it because it's a hilariously accurate portrayal of how people truly act when the world as they know it shuts down. If only the creators truly knew. Number 9. Attack of the Killer Kung Fu Wolf Bitch. As I mentioned earlier, Granddad is going through a bit of a crisis, and part of that is his constant desire to find a woman to settle down with. The joke is that he's never looking for a woman his age, but rather young women in their 20s and 30s, and he usually pulls them. Bad ones too. But in this season 2 episode, he's having a streak where the women he meets on MySpace, damn, remember that? Don't look anything like their picture. So I guess by modern explanation, he's getting catfished. That is until he meets Luna. She ends up being the real deal, but there's something not quite right about her, and the boys know it immediately.
Come here, let me show you where to put your thing.
We don't keep cash in the house. That's a big bitch.
Massage, a bad piece of chicken, anything.
Turns out she's a master kung fu fighter with a questionable past who was raised by wolves. The whole premise is silly, and I like this episode because it doesn't take itself too seriously. Granddad and the boys spend the entire weekend trying to survive Luna and her crazy antics, with Luna being one step ahead of them in every way.
Let's get out while we can.
She's voiced by Alicia Tyler, and she's great at making Luna sound batshit crazy, but also tragic at the same time. Throughout the episode, she also gets bad advice from her friend on the phone, who's voiced by Tichina Arnold. It's just something fun about this episode and seeing this woman derail their lives for an entire weekend. It never gets old.
She whooping their ass for real.
Number 8. The Color Ruckus. Throughout the series, the character Uncle Ruckus becomes increasingly aggressive with his anti-black commentary. Despite the fact that he hates everything about the Freeman family, he still maintains a relationship with them and with Granddad in particular. It's interesting that nothing Ruckus says seems to really bother Granddad, and it drives home the fact that even though they have different ideologies, they can disagree and still be friends. Plus, I think Granddad just feels sorry for him. He knows there's some past trauma there, and in episode 14 of season 3, we finally find out exactly how Uncle Ruckus turned out the way he did. Turns out, Uncle Ruckus' mother also suffers from self-hatred. and convinced her son that he was left on her doorstep as a white baby with revitiligo, and she raised him as her own out of pity. If that's not bad enough, his father was abusive and put him out at an early age in a scene reminiscent of the movie The Color Purple. I like this episode because it highlights the real-life effects of generational trauma. The episode is played for laughs, but you end up feeling bad for the way Ruckus turned out, because I'm sure...
Yeah, this is a super sad episode, man, to see how Ruckus turned out. But the one thing I will say is this. I'm happy that the show is more realistic about Ruckus than trying to really play off the fact that this nigga got revitiligo. Instead, this nigga was really black the whole time, and his mom just pretty much scrambled his brain and manipulated him into believing in self-hatred. So yeah, it's really sad. The mama ain't shit, the daddy ain't shit, the grandma definitely wasn't shit. You feel this episode really do make you feel sorry for Ruckus, because he grew up in a fucked up household, and he really suffers from it. It's crazy. Sad hood movie.
We all know a similar situation. Even though he learns the truth of his birth and childhood, he still holds on to the lie out of fear of being anything like his abusive father. As dysfunctional as his family is, and knowing how much he hates black people, it's kind of satisfying seeing how much his brother still love him though. At the end of the day, it's all you can do. Number 7. Pause. If this was a list of the top Boondocks episodes that won't play well today, then season 3 episode 8 would be at the top of that list.
Oh yeah. This is the Tyler Perry episode that got fucking banned. Tyler Perry banned this episode because the Boondocks made fun of him, and they only showed it the night it was supposed to come out, and they never showed it again. The only way you can watch this episode is on the fucking DVD. That's the only way you can watch this fucking excuse me. This episode and the BET episodes. BET definitely came after Cartoon Network for airing them episodes. They definitely, well, it wasn't so much a BET as it was like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. They both stepped in and tried to get this shit canceled, especially after the Martin Luther King episode. They went to war with Cartoon Network over this damn show. It almost got canceled, y'all. Y'all can look it up. Boondocks almost got canceled because of BET and Tyler Perry and Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. The fake woke activists. BET ain't got no right to be telling nobody what to do, and y'all was out here showing fucking BET Uncut. I ain't got no panties on. Come on, man. Y'all showed the tip drill video. Had me staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning just to watch tip drill. Come on, Chief. Y'all, fuck out of here.
Also, it was so controversial that it's rumored that Tyler Perry himself pulled strings to make sure it never aired beyond the one time it was showed on television, making this somewhat of a banned episode. Why would he go through all that trouble, you ask? Well, because Pause features a not subtle at all portrayal of a Tyler Perry-like director named Winston Jerome. He dresses as a woman named Ma Duke and directs plays with Christian overtones. They didn't even attempt to hide the inspiration. Granddad gets a role in one of Winston's plays, but becomes hesitant when he finds out that he's playing the love interest of Ma Duke. The episode features some age-like milk gay jokes and homophobia, and I think what really hurt it was that it really doesn't come with an underlying message like some of the previous episodes. It's very funny, but it really only exists to call out the laziness of Tyler Perry's work and to expose on TV what everybody else was already speculating about his sexuality in the first place. They even call out the cult nature of Tyler Perry fandom. This episode just feels like Aaron Magruder wanted to get something off his chest, for better or for worse.
And I don't blame him. Fuck Tyler Perry.
Number 6. The New Black. If you ask most fans of the show, most of them would tell you that season 4 was not that good. By this point, Aaron Magruder had left the show, and it picked up 2 new writers in his place. The first 3 seasons were great, but something was lost in the 4th season. The biggest issue for me was the decision to change the personalities and motivations of nearly every character, whether it was a conscious decision or not. Huey's revolutionary nature was toned down dramatically, and he was reduced to random words of wisdom here or there. Granddad was made to be an incompetent idiot and irresponsible with money. Yeah, he did some silly stuff in the previous seasons, but he was never incompetent. It's made worse by the fact that nearly the entire season is about Granddad and his antics. The only character who really didn't go through a drastic change was Riley. So it's appropriate then that the very last episode of season 4, and therefore the very last episode of the Boondocks series, ends with him essentially being canceled. That's right, before cancel culture was even really a thing, episode 10 season 4 sees Riley getting kicked out of school for calling a student gay, something he had done numerous times throughout previous seasons. I also think it's highly ironic that he calls the student the N-word also in the same sentence, and nobody seems to care. He has to meet with a GLAAD-like representative from a group called Yes Homo. Get it? Because, it's not no homo. And is given a chance to either publicly apologize or give them money. What follows is a series of blunders as Riley ends up insulting one group after another. It's funny that nobody in this episode can agree on what's acceptable to call each group. I like the fact that this episode highlights the hypocrisy of a lot of these groups, and at the end of the day, they don't really care about the words. It's all about the money and the power. 7 years later, and nothing really has changed. Speaking of homosexuality, Number 5, the story of Gangstalicious Part 2. In season 1, Riley basically gets his own episode where he goes to the hospital to visit his favorite rapper Gangstalicious after he gets shot.
Again?
After looking up to him for so long, Riley soon realizes that everything he believed about Gangstalicious was fake. And not only that, his most popular song was about a man that Gangstalicious used to be in a relationship with. The moral of the story is that I guess you should never meet your heroes. Fast forward to season 2, and Riley is basically pretending like none of that happened. It helps that Gangstalicious sends him all kinds of gifts and basically anything he wants. Things get awkward though when he starts sending Riley things from his new clothing line. Things like sports bras and skirts. Since he's Riley's hero, he wears it and even defends it, much to the horror of Granddad. It's hilarious watching Granddad try to come up with all kinds of schemes to prevent Riley from being gay, and eventually just comes to terms with it. It's over-the-top silliness and not meant to be taken seriously. And the whole point of the episode is to show how unnecessary it is to put the sexuality of a person over who the person actually is. For instance, it's revealed at one point that Gangstalicious is in fact gay, and because of this, he loses his career and everything. Forget the fact that he currently has the hottest song in the country and had several other hits on the show, and that he convinced other rappers to wear women's clothing to keep up with him. This one revelation killed his entire career. And I mean, it's not like real life rappers didn't do the same things to stay relevant over the years.
Will hip-hop ever accept an outwardly gay rapper? I don't know.
Of course they will. Gangstalicious was just a few years too early. Number 4, the hunger strike. I know I don't only speak for myself when I say that in the late 80s and early 90s, BET was everything. They had Teen Summit for teen social issues, Video Soul for R&B music, Rap City for hip hop, Comic View for comedy. It had everything, and I spent many hours in front of the TV as a kid watching its programming. Unfortunately, after it was sold to Viacom in 2001, the programming quality went down dramatically, with most of the shows highlighting the worst stereotypes of the black community. Plenty of people have spoken out about it over the years, but probably none as boldly as episode 14 of season 2 of the Boondocks. Here, Huey decides to go on a hunger strike until BET is taken off the air. It's ran by an over-the-top portrayal of the CEO at the time, Deborah L. Lee. In this show, her name is Deborah Leeville, and her only job in life is to make BET the worst possible programming for black people possible. Huey ends up getting help from an opportunistic activist named Reverend Rollo Goodlove, who's voiced by CeeLo Green. He's a jab at Al Sharpton and his tendency to show up out of nowhere whenever there's a black social injustice. At first, things are going great, but Huey slowly realizes that Goodlove really only agreed to help to bring more fame and notoriety to himself. The episode mirrors how it goes down in real life, with more attention usually being placed on the activists than the actual problem, and people wondering exactly what do they get out of always showing up on behalf of others. The Boondocks answers that question for you when Reverend Goodlove ends up with his own TV show on BET, effectively ending the strike and making Huey look like a fool. It doesn't help that Goodlove is eating in Huey's face throughout the entire episode. Like the good Reverend basically says, people just want to be entertained, so you might as well just get this money. Number 3, Wangmen. Throughout the show, Robert Freeman claims to be involved in many important events in the past. He claims he was a civil rights activist among other things, but he's a bit of an unreliable narrator, and a lot of his stories only seem to be half true. The only one that's really confirmed to be completely accurate is the fact that he flew planes in World War II. We know this because in episode 13 of season 1, he's asked to give the eulogy at his former army friend's Mo funeral. Only Robert couldn't stand dude at all, and he has to be talked into even showing up to the funeral. He takes a trip to the city where the funeral is taking place with Huey and Riley, and also takes a trip down memory lane, detailing every single terrible thing that Mo has done to him. I love this episode because Mo is as hilarious as he is insufferable. He just won't give Robert a break, even in death.
Woo! You a bigger man than me. I don't think I could talk nice about somebody say that type of stuff about me or my mama. I am not the one.
The whole episode is Robert coming to terms with the fact that even though Mo treated him like garbage, he was still a friend to him, and even left him something in his will.
He's nuts! That shit was hilarious.
Number 2, the trial of R. Kelly. Believe it or not, this episode actually took place before R. Kelly's first trial in 2008, and kind of showed us exactly how the fandom response to the allegations and court proceedings were going to go down. In season 1, episode 2, R. Kelly is going on trial for peeing on an underage girl, and Riley, forever the fanboy, wants to be front row at the trial to defend R. Kelly. Since Tom is the DA, it's his job to prosecute Kelly, and since there is video evidence and Kelly admits on video that it's him, he thinks it's a slam dunk case. However, Tom Dubois underestimated the power of ignorance, and the courtroom turns into a complete circus. It's almost scary how much this episode shows exactly how R. Kelly fans would react to and defend the actions of the man, not just in 2008, but also in 2021, despite direct evidence pointing to his guilt. The trial in this episode was less about whether Kelly was guilty or not, and more about the motivations of the people accusing him. Granddad and Ruckus even discussed whether people should turn a blind eye to R. Kelly since other white artists have done the same thing. A carbon copy argument I saw all over social media earlier this year. Tom basically loses the case because he's married to a white woman.
Please, people! You saw the tape! The girl testified she was underage. We have a videotape!
Go tell that to your white bitch.
Damn.
I don't think any episode in the Boondocks accurately highlights destructive human behavior and enabling more than the trial of R. Kelly. Number 1, Return of the King. And my number 1 favorite episode of the Boondocks is episode 9 of season 1. This episode imagines a reality where Martin Luther King didn't actually die after getting shot, but rather ended up in a 32-year coma. He awakens to find the world completely different than what he remembered. It goes about how you would expect for somebody like MLK, with him becoming somewhat of a celebrity, getting TV show appearances, book deals, and even a movie. Unfortunately, being away from the world for so long can cause you to be out of touch with current day mindsets, and MLK ends up being canceled for saying that America should take a non-violent approach to 9/11 terrorist attacks instead of anger. I like this episode for several reasons. The first being that thinking MLK would say anything different than to be non-violent shows that a lot of people are in love with the idea of MLK, but really don't know anything about him. Also, it's kind of funny seeing him try to adjust to the new world.
Oh, snap. No, they didn't. A boneless rib sandwich.
To say that this episode was controversial is an understatement. It received condemnation from Reverend Al Sharpton of all people, who criticized the fact that MLK used the N-word in this episode. I think Aaron Magruder had the perfect response to this, basically calling out how silly it was for Sharpton to be angry about this when there are so many other important things he could be concerned about in the community. I think the episode was largely misunderstood. We tend to deify our old leaders and act like they weren't humans just like the rest of us. Although fictional, Return of the King offered the most human portrayal of Martin Luther King ever put to screen, and I feel like it's an accurate portrayal of how he most likely would have reacted to the state of black people in modern times. The idea that MLK wouldn't say the N-word is kinda silly, especially seeing how many of our elders use it regularly. At the end of the day, I think the Boondocks is saying if the black community even needs a leader, we can't expect that leader to be perfect in order for us to listen to what they have to say. MLK reacted appropriately to a world where it appears we have lost our way. That's why Return of the King is my favorite Boondocks episode ever. And that does it for this episode.
I can understand.
Once again, let me know what your favorite Boondocks episodes were in the comments below. The Boondocks is supposed to be making a return in a rebooted series in 2022 on HBO Max.
That got canceled, brother. That got canceled. We ain't getting no Boondocks anytime soon. Not with Pops pretty much gone. Aaron McGruder probably still trying to shop this shit around. I would just let Boondocks die at this point. There's no purpose for it coming back. I would just let Boondocks die at this point. You don't have Granddad. We don't have John Witherspoon anymore. R.I.P. to Pops. You know what I'm saying? R.I.P. You know what I'm saying? Let's just let the show die, man. Let's just remember it for the good times. Let's ignore season 4. Ramen accidentally. But yeah, man, I say it's pretty solid. I'll take that season 4 episode off and replace it with the second Stink Meter episode. The second Stink Meter episode, hands down to my personal opinion, that's the best Boondocks episode. Is the second Stink Meter episode, but that's neither here nor there. But anyways, though, that's just gonna about do it for this one, man. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments. What's y'all top 10? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'll get back to you till then. Peace out.